Chevre, how are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark, und freilich, begashmis und beruchnis. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy, physically and spiritually. This week, we had a very elevated week. Bahaloischa, rise. It was immediately after the holiday of Shavuos, and we were in the days of Tashlumim. Tashlumin means we make up. And then now we came to the end of Tashlumin, and we're holding Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parshas Bahaloischa. So we have to speak about the connection between all these things and the lessons in the Parsha that are relevant to our daily life. But as usual, we'll start with tzedakah, as we're finding now still in the days of war, and Hashem should help that the war should be over immediately, all the hostages should be turned home safely, and Mashiach should come now. Then we'll start with a prayer. Min ha-meitzar karosiyo, oh no, nivamechavyo. From my depth I cry out to you, answer me in a broad way. And the point is, according to Chassidus, that min ha-meitzar, when you're at the rock bottom, from the oimik, tochas, when you're holding at the lowest of the lowest situation, then, and you cry out from such a position, then you could be answered in a way of merchav, in the most broadest way. And this is the theme we're going to speak about in today's Parsha. And it's such a direct connection between the calendar, that we're this week in the days of Tashlumin, and this week's Parsha talks about Pesach Sheni. Everyone knows about Pesach Sheni. As nicht doken verfallen. It's never too late. There's always another chance. As we'll speak about today, that's exactly what Tashlumin is. And that's what we should discuss in life in general. I would say that for any serious-minded individual, life is about change. Call it growth, development. Any serious person, for example, if he'll come to a business, he's not going to want that his business should stay at the same level year after year. But obviously, he wanted to be growing with lots of interest, etc., etc. So too, a serious person who, even though in some sense, when he's younger, he knows he's reached his peak physical abilities. That's why star athletes have to retire at 40 and their life is over, etc., in a certain sense. But the truth is that it's not that way at all, in the way the Rebbe would rage, so to speak, against retirement, which means that the person who looks inside himself and is always challenging himself to go further, to reach higher, to grow. And it is possible, and that's the whole purpose of life, and that's the whole purpose of Yiddishkeit. We're constantly advancing, and this is one of the lessons the Rebbe drilled into us and inculcated us completely, non-stop, about always, can you top this? Because that's the real sign that you're, number one, maximizing your potential. By the Rebbe, humanity's ultimate purpose and meaning for his joy is to tap into his full potential, to realize his full potential. And that's how you realize what your purpose and mission in this world is in general, and for your own benefit. Only when you express your totality will you not be a frustrated person. When a person challenges himself and he accomplishes another great thing, that brings him the greatest joy. And the more the challenge was, the greater the joy that comes from it. So this is, I would say, you could even say it touches the chord of every human being, but especially for a Yid, who the idea of Yiddishkeit is, it's all about transcending, not even being limited to any sort of limitations concerning your nature, etc., etc., and that you're connected to a chelik elikam imal mamish, since you have a part of Hashem Himself, who Hashem Himself is bli gvul, so therefore every Yid, in a certain sense, can do the impossible. And that's a sign, as the Alter Rebbe explains in chapter 15, that he's actually serving Hashem. His Judaism is not based on feel good, what is convenient and fits my profile, but it means that I'm stretching myself and I'm showing that I'm serving a significant other, And still we're saying that will bring you the true sense of fulfillment and meaning and purpose. So first let's talk about the Yemei Tashlumin. The Rebbe said in many places that the words Yemei Tashlumin, which means to make up, really have two connotations. On the one hand, Tashlumin means that there's a sense there was a deficiency, there was a lacking, there was a void, and then we fill the void. So there's something negative, and we fill the void. You have a cup, the cup was half empty, now we filled it to the top. So that's one idea of Yemei Tashlumin. By the way, I forgot to mention, the Pshat, Al Pinigla, means there was the time, every person who came to the Beis HaMikdash, who was Oile Regel, was meant to bring a sacrifice, and he had till the 6 days after Shavuos to actually bring that korban. For whatever reason, it wasn't brought before, if it was possible or it wasn't possible, but you had till Yud Gimel Sivan in order to accomplish that. And that's what it's called. Yemei Tashlumin, we're able to make up and fill that void, that the obligation until Yud Gimel Sivan. So the Rebbe would always emphasize the word Tashlumin had one idea of filling a void, but then there's a much greater meaning. Tashlumin milashon shleimos. Shleimos means perfection. It's not only filled to the top; it's overflowing. And it's not only that there's a void and we fill the void. It's more like yelchu mechayil choil and kedusha gufa. It's only something connected to pure positivity, more and more and more. As good is good, is better and better. If good is good, is better not better. So Tashlumin tells us, and it comes together with the whole idea of Chassidus, that sometimes you need the tzedek aliyah through the fact that there was a void. Not only thereby we fill the void, but we actually reach a level which is even beyond filling the void, but going further than that. And by the way, I forgot to mention today's Tezvav Sivan. That was the day the Frierdiker Rebbe was arrested in the whole story of Yiddish Tammuz. And the Rebbe says also about this date that this was the beginning. You know, it started with something negative. The Frierdiker was arrested, and the days following were one of the darkest days in the history of Chabad Chassidus, because in the days of Stalin, we were literally dealing with matters of life and death, sakonis nefashos mamish, and nevertheless, through that, the expansion of Chabad, and as we see today, the explosion of Chabad when the Soviet Union fell in 1990, was all because of the seeds and the groundwork and the continual work of Chassidim, of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and the Rebbe's continued interest and investment in Russia throughout all the years. So it started with a Tezvav Sivan, then the Frierdiker Rebbe was released in Beis Tammuz, but we see the same idea. First there was a void, there was terrible, terrible decrees. But then, through the Mesiras Nefesh, not only we filled the void, but we came to Shleimos. We saw expressions and demonstration of Yiddishkeit, and the eternity of Yiddishkeit, and the triumph of Yiddishkeit in greater ways than ever was seen before. Let's get back to, so that's the Yemei Tashlumin. I just want to say two words, two verklach, that come in connection to this. First of all, the Frierdiker Rebbe, I mentioned this already before, but it's so geschmack that we have to mention it again. And I'm saying this because I hope that if somebody did not experience this, so that we're still in the days, we're still in the euphoria from Matan Torah. First of all, the previous Rebbe said that after the Shavuos, he said he didn't want to be disturbed with just usual general work, unless it was emergency, of course. And he said, "Val is noch afem Berg." He's still on the mountain. He's still on Mount Sinai, metaphorically speaking. In other words, the Yom Tov of Shavuos is such a spiritual level of intense spirituality that we have to hang on as much as we can to savor it. And this comes together with another word that the Tzemach Tzedek said. I love it. That the Alter Rebbe said that the avoid of the Yemei Tashlumim, the work of the days of Tashlumim, is as medav good, I'm packing this chayra. And he said that with the analogy, in the old days there was a yirid. So when a mark, there was a fair where they sold the merchandise. So if you lived in Kremenchuk or in Nevel, in some village, in Lubavitch, and you had a store where you sold general merchandise, so you had to go to Leipzig once or twice a year, and to the wholesalers where they sold merchandise, And then you had to pack your wagons for the journey, for the trip, back from Leipzig to Lubavitch. So the Alter Rebbe said, with that good einpacken the Schere, when you're on your way back, to be on your way back, you have to secure the packages and the merchandise very, very solid. For two reasons. Because when you're traveling on mountains or bumpy terrain, so if the packages are not securely packaged on the wagon, they could fall off. You could lose merchandise. And also, if there's highwaymen, if the packages are not there securely, so then they will just ride by quickly and just pick it off and ride away with it. You could always have highwaymen that will come to make some kind of armed robbery, but that's rare. Usually they don't want to engage. The customers, they would just ride up very quickly, see if they could grab some weak, not securely fastened merchandise and ride away with it. So therefore, the Avodah, when a person went to Leipzig, he had to then secure all the packages for the journey, for the ride back. So the Alter Rebbe said the Avodah from Israchag, which means Zayin, Ches, Tes, Yud, Yud, Aleph, Yud, Beis, Sivan, is good einpacken the Schere, which means downloading properly, that it's secure. Like it goes together with the Friedrich's word, Misnachalza from Barg. We're busy downloading, trying to receive, trying to absorb. And this comes to another discussion. I don't want to talk about it so much, and I believe I'm talking to myself now, and it's something I work on myself all the time. Improve your listening skills, improve your recording. Just press record and listen. It's so hard. I'm talking now as a teacher who teaches, and people don't have attention spans that are proper to be able to record. So everyone has to be first a living example. The elders have to be a living example. Parents have to be a living example. I have to keep my mouth shut. If I'm by a simcha and someone's speaking, I should be from the people that are not saying a word. Why? Because someone else is speaking. What about the whole hall? It's full of noise. Who cares what everyone else is doing? I have to start being a role model. In good einpacken the Schere, there's someone else, listen, he's saying something, absorb it, take it in. So, if we're talking about Lifnei Melech, Malcham, Lochem HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the days following Shavuos, Miznachalza from Barg, these are holy days, special days. Absorb, take it in. And if you learn how to download good einpacken the Schere, I promise you, it'll help you in every single area of your life, physical, spiritual. We said this many times. Better husband, better father, better person, better friend, better everything. If you learn how to listen properly and absorb, receive, until the thing resonates. Okay, now let's go to Parshas Ba'al Yisrael. Now, I'm not going to say anything that's one sikh in particular. I heard it from the Rebbe many times. I'm going to put together some points. And maybe the Rebbe didn't say it exactly this way, but this is the way it's spoken about in all the Mefarshim. Pesach Sheni, you have to realize, is a total novelty. The novelty is similar to by Bnei Slavchad, that this was something. First of all, it's a novelty. What do you mean that even though you missed the boat, we could say you can still get the boat? How does that work? What do you mean? The right time was a month ago. You meant to bring the Korban Pesach. You couldn't, you missed out. And here we see something never seen before, and actually usually not seen, is that even though you missed out, but once the Yidden asked the Eibishter from the depth of the souls, they were able to cause there should be a new revelation. Hashem telling Moshe Rabbeinu, you got another chance, etc. And then we have the Yom Yom of Yudal Ir on the day of Pesach Sheni, Nishdakim Fafal. So that's wow. In a way, it's like it's changing reality. We change reality? What do you mean? I mean, if you're going to tell somebody, educating a person, that's what we're talking about growth, that there's always going to be a second chance. I don't know if that's such a good message. Because nothing is serious. There'll be another chance. I always get another chance. And the truth is, when it comes to Avodas Hashem, it does work like that sometimes. I don't believe it works like that every single time. Ultimately, but you know, it doesn't mean that it becomes easier. Let's take a simple example. If you had one person who studied all his life, by the time he's 25, he knows something as a Talmud Chacham, as a Ben Torah. You have another person who didn't learn a Jewish word till he's 25, he's not a Ben Torah. Now what are you going to say? Is Dakim verfallen? See, yeah, verfallen. He wasted 25 years of his life. You can't get that back. What you could say is that even though he wasted 25 years of his life, he could be like Rabbi Yaakov, who learned from the water on the stone. That no matter what, even if I start late, I can start now, and I can still accomplish. Unbelievable. True. But it doesn't mean necessarily you can bring back the 25 years. And in most reality cases, from what I've seen, is those that learned Mishnayos when they were kids, you know, and they learned the whole Mishnayos Baal Peh, or they finished Shas, and they learned when they were young. The people that start later, they do not catch up. Because what can you do? You understand what I'm saying? That person, what they call Girsa de Yankase, what they amassed when they were younger is so unbelievable, and their mind was fresh and they took it all in. And especially if this is the type of person that continues learning, so when someone starts late, it'll be very hard to catch up to that person. So sometimes we say, in a certain sense, let's say when it comes to academia, but that doesn't take away from the fact that when it comes to your relationship with Hashem, no matter how far, and it seems like you sever ties, no such thing. It's never too late. But just to give another example of that, you know, always Chassidim, I know when you teach something and when you fabring and you say, first comes Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is it. It's the Yom Adin HaMelech. We prepare ourselves a whole month. And then it comes Rosh Hashanah Yom Adin. Then we say there's a Sesame Tshuva, but you know what? It's Yom Kippur, which you get the Chesima. So it's Yom Kippur. Then we say, no, there's a Shana Rabbah, the Gita Kvittel, it's a Shana Rabbah. And then we say, no, Shmini Atzeres is even greater because it's Atzeres Yilachem, Hashem and Yidden alone, etc. And then we say, no, the last stop on the train is Shabbos Bereishis. There's a famous word that's the last stop. And then we say, no, it's Zois Chanukah. Zois Chanukah has a special connection too. The Simchas Torah and Zois Chanukah is Taka, the last stop. So in the Tishrei cycle, we spoke first about Rosh Hashanah, that it's it. Then we said Yom Kippur is it. Then we said Shmini Atzeres is it. Then we said Hashanah Rabbah, by the way. We said Hashanah Rabbah is it. Then we said Shmini Atzeres. Then we said Shabbos Bereishis. And then we said Zois Chanukah. So we see Taka, when we speak in such a language, and that's a very positive message, that, you know what, if you missed out before, it's the jump on the train now, jump on the train now. Come on, come on, come on. And that's the beauty of Hashem. Close out sale, wholesale sale. He does it so many times that no matter how much the person might feel dejected, the Eibush is still telling you, I'm not giving up on you, I'm not giving up on you, I'm not giving up on you. Okay, so let's get back over here to the main message of Pesach Sheni, where it says that the Yidden came to Moshe Rabbeinu. First Hashem told Moshe that if a person is impure, then he can't bring the Pesach Sheni at the right time, etc. And then, afterwards, the Pasuk says, I hope I got the right place, now I can't find it. Then it says, there were those people that were impure, they couldn't do the Korban Pesach on that day, and they said to Moshe Rabbeinu that Tmeim, Anachnu Tmeim L'Nefesh, we're impure. Anachnu Tmeim L'Nefesh Adam, we're impure. Lo Menigora, why should we miss out? And then it says that Moshe Rabbeinu told them, Imdu ve'eshma ma'itzav Hashem lachem, stand here and Hashem will tell you what to do. Okay, so first of all, even in Pshuti Shel Mikra, there are some Rashis over here that are so amazing. First of all, the question over here is immediately that how does it work that they say Tmeim, Anachnu Tmeim L'Nefesh, we're impure, and then they say Lo Menagora? But they answer the question themselves. You understand what I'm saying? It's like saying, we're drunk. We're drunk, and we can't go into the Beis Hamikdash. No. If you're drunk, you can't go into the Beis Hamikdash. I don't know how to drive a car. Could I drive a car? So if the law is that you cannot be Tomei L'Nefesh, first you say, Anachnu Tmeim L'Nefesh, we're Tomei, and Lo Minigara, but you're Tomei L'Nefesh. What do you mean Lo Minigara? Those are the rules. You know, when you make the rules, then you come along and you say, but I know it's not according to the rules. Why should we miss out? Well, it doesn't make sense. That's a simple question. Also, there's a question over here, and it says that they were impure, and they couldn't make the Pesach, which seems to imply like it's not their fault. What do you mean? They're Tmeim L'Nefesh, and they're not allowed to be the korban. Asurim lasses HaPesach. What does it mean v'lo yochlu? So first of all, you could say one lesson over here is, by the way, I don't want to get into it now, there's a point over here, how were they in such a matzav that they were impure? And we'll see from Rashi over here soon that there's a positive spin to the whole thing. They were busy, maybe it was a tummy mess, there was no one else to do it, and the proof that we're looking at it totally positive, mamish al pi pshut shel mikra, is because Rashi later says over here that we'll soon bring up 2 points in that Rashi. One point is that Moshe knew that Hashem is going to respond, but we'll get to that later. But before that, Rashi says, after that, those words, Rashi says that that the truth is Moshe should have been able to say this on his own, directly, that if there'll be such a case where there'll be people that are impure without it actually happening. But Rashi says, these people merited that the revelation of the law of those that were impure when the Korban Pesach was brought, and that they could do it a month later on Pesach Sheni, came through them. Which you could say is pretty strange. We're talking about people that are impure, which is a negative state. It seems like it's associated with negativity. And then Rashi says, Shezochu, Shemagavdol Schus Aydei Zakai, which means we bring about that which is worthy by means of one who is worthy. So that means these people were worthy. That means either Parshas Pshat will say that what brought about that they were in a condition of impurity was because they did something good. They were busying themselves to allow themselves to become impure, to bring benefit to another person. Or in general, a deeper pshat al pichsidis is that Zakai means that even if they did something wrong, but now they want to do tshuva, and they're regretting it, and they're pained by it. That's the main lesson that we're going to talk about, that the Rebbe says, but time is running out, that when a Jew cries out, Lo Manigora, from every fiber of his being, from the depth of his soul, and he feels like it's a matter of life and death, and he can't live otherwise. That's the Megalgal Schosai de Zakai, that these people reveal to us what it means to be a person that says, I cannot be without this spiritual level, without this merit, without this maturity spiritually that's important for my life and soul. Okay, now let's go back to what we said before, V'lo yochlu. So if you learn Pshat, that it was because the Zake did something good before, so then it's simple, V'lo yochlu, they couldn't, it's not their fault. It's because they did something before that was good. It was a mitzvah what they did before, so now they found themselves in a situation that were impure. But I want to say a different point, which is a message, and again, a Chassidish, like we said many times, these shiurim is to bring out a Chassidish word. There's no such thing as a punishment just because you need to get a punishment. There are consequences. And it's all about the journey, it's all about development. So, let's say, for example, somebody cannot go, like we spoke many times, somebody can't go into 6th grade if he didn't do 5th grade. So is that a punishment? Or there's no point in going to 6th grade if you're not ready for 6th grade. 6th grade won't accomplish anything for the person. If a 3-year-old child walks into 6th grade, he doesn't know nothing. He's not accomplishing anything. So over here, what the pasuk is teaching us, v'lo yochlu lasis haPesach, means they couldn't, because when you're in a state of impurity, the Korban Pesach is not going to work. It's not going to accomplish what it's meant to accomplish in the person. When it comes to the service of Hashem, there's the man, and there's what it has to accomplish in him. As is uftan, also is kennen darf uftan in him. If we want the optimal results from what the Korban Pesach is, if we want to talk about the avodah of Korban Pesach, so the steps, step number 1, step number 2, step number 3, and this is in general in avodah Hashem, in avodah Chassidus, avodah Pnimius, we go from level to level. And if you want the next level to accomplish the most, what it's meant to accomplish, first you have to successfully accomplish everything from the previous levels. So if you're in a state of impurity, the Korban Pesach, you're not ready for the Korban Pesach. It's a great thing, but it's not really going to accomplish what it's meant to accomplish. That's what the pasuk means, v'lo yochlu. So that's the number 1 first lesson over here. They realized the preciousness of what the Korban Pesach is. You understand what it means? Like when when we look at Torah as a value and a virtue, and we put it on top of everything else, it's the supreme value. It's the priority of all priorities. Torah is the best eschera. Being connected to the Eibishter is what it's all about. That's what life's all about. And if I can't have that, nothing's worth anything. And that's why now we understand. This is with the Rebbe's main vart and the whole Pesach Sheni, that the Yidden said, "Anachnu tmeim," and they're crying about it. Not that they have a question, lo manigora, as a question like, what do you mean? If I don't have a driver's license, I never learned how to drive, I can't drive. They're crying, lo manigora, they're pleading. They're asking the Eibishter, they don't want to miss out. We need this, we want this. And it's because the most important thing in our entire life is not Gashmis, it's Ruchnis. The most important thing in my life is my attachment to you. The most important thing in my life is my relationship with you. Hashem, Hashem, please. And this is the message over here. That if we're talking about, and we started the shit today, about change and habits and development, the first thing a person, the first rule of any change is that you have to want to change. We said this joke many times. How many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? 1. But the light bulb has to want to change. So, you really want to change. They say the famous expression, Has gewollt wollen lernen, oder Taka willst können lernen. You would want to learn, or you Taka want to learn. If you Taka want to learn, then you'll work very, very hard to be able to achieve that. Not that you'd want to want. And this is the main lesson we have to take, both as you made tashlumin, that we still have time, that we can make up, which is directly related. The theme of the calendar, when the days of Yemei Tashlumim, with the Parshas Shavua, Pesach Sheni, same exact point, precisely. As Nishdakim have found that it's never too late, but what's more important, because we always have to look inward and demand from ourselves, what's more important is that we have to cry from the very depth of our being that this is important. And now we come to another Rashi, which I don't know why I don't hear more people speak about it, which is so phenomenal. And that's what it says over there, when Moshe says, just stand here. And then Rashi says something which is so phenomenal, which goes together with the Gemara, I believe, about the idea of that by Moshe Rabbeinu there's an Aspaklaria Meira, and there's a Aspaklaria She'ena Meira, yeah? It says the difference between Moshe Rabbeinu and everyone else was that Moshe Rabbeinu was Aspaklaria Meira, his connection to the Eibishter was that level, and by other tzaddikim there's a Aspaklaria She'ena Meira, yeah? Now, there's different explanations to what it means. Some explanation is that Moshe's vision was super clear, high definition, I don't know what you call it, and other tzaddikim was not. Like it says sometimes the difference between Moshe says zeh kelim aveyu, he brings about zeh, and the Leviim say koi. It's like this. So Moshe zeh is aspakaria meira. Other places, if I remember the pshat in the Gemara, is that aspakaria meira means you have access 24/7. Mashenkin, other tzaddikim is aspakaria sheni meira. They don't have access 24/7 to the greatest revelation. Over here, Rashi says, when the Yidden came to him and they asked him what to do, Lomani Gora, Moshe said, right after the words Lomani Gora, the Bilti Hikra was called Mashem b'mayadei b'teich b'yisol, v'yimar alei Moshe, imdu v'eshma ma'itzar Hashem lechem. Just stand right here. And you'll hear what the Eibusha says. And Rashi says something so phenomenal. And Rashi says, imdu v'eshma, Ketalmud hamuftach mipi Rabbi. Hamuftach l'shmoi mipi Rabbi. It's like a student who is guaranteed that he's going to hear a response from his teacher. Wo das Geld geworden? How could Moshe know for sure? Just stand there, we're going to get a response. And Rashi even brings out the enormity of this statement over here. It boggles the mind. Ashrei Yilud Isha. Fortunate were born to a woman, which means a mortal human being. Ashrei, we have to say it again. Ashrei Yilud Isha. Shekach muftach shekol zman shohiyaretze hoymedaber in Mashchina. Praise is the mortal human being that whenever he wants to converse, dialogue with the Eibishter, it's guaranteed. But where was this revealed? Even though we say Moshe was a Spakali Ameira, whenever he would knock and turn to Hashem, he was guaranteed to get a response. So maybe you could say Pshat. Ashrei Elisha is not only concerning, in this case, a virtue about Moshe Rabbeinu, but why was it revealed over here? Because when Moshe saw to what degree the Yidden were pained and were crying out, Loma Ligora, he knew the Eibishter cannot turn away. And that's this story brings out the partnership between the Rebbe and the Chassidim. Sigh on the Rebbe that they had such a Rebbe like a Moshe Rabbeinu, Ashrei Yilud Isha, that he's able to guarantee that there'll be a response. But Ashrei, this Rebbe, that he has such Chassidim, that it's so important for them, that Moshe felt that the Eibishter for sure would respond. And what the lesson we take from this is that we have to cry out to Hashem when it comes to our spirituality, and when it comes to Mashiach, especially as the Rebbe finished off the Sikha Kisovin and Aleph, and I'll read inside what the Rebbe says, V'yihi rotzim, as durtem v'nisa v'amarta, that you will respond and say for Aiden, then it was a bet when he will request, und schreit zum Eibishter and cries to Hashem, Ona Rachem, und nemschen alei Yidden von Golis, please have mercy and take Yidden out of exile, und bringschen die Gula Mitzvah Shleima Yidei Mashiach Tzidkenu, and bring a ready Mashiach through Mashiach Tzidkenu. So then that will happen. And so it should be with the Eibishter's help, that we should cry out, Vayitzak, Vanitzak, enough with the war, enough with the anti-Semitism, enough with the tzoros. Mashiach now, please. Ona Hashem Yishiana, Ona Hashem Atzlichana. Posting from my home, your man in Melbourne.